Most popular one is maybe industrial labor agreement.
Yep.
Under the industrial labor agreement, we have various industry. I don't remember how many now.
Process like when we lost the labor agreement, first process is to get the endorsement from the either union or Mr. Chintan
No, contact him. He's better than me.
or you can contact us or you can contact any migration agent. Hello and welcome to new episode of 4A Talks. Today we have Mr. Chintan Dhungel from Aussie Globe. Literally we are not from the same organization. However, we work in the same area in the migration. He is a senior migration agent from the industry and has been working from a long time. We do collaborate with our knowledge base and the cases we discuss in the market. So let's welcome Mr. Chintan Dhungel from Aussie Globe.
Thank you, Lilash. Thank you for having me. You actually raised a very interesting area. Normally, we are not in the same institution. We are competitor.
Yeah.
But we've been together under the same table, and then we try to deliver some lights about the labor agreement, especially for the clients as well as the employer yourself.
So Chintan sir, talking about labor agreement, what is actually a labor agreement?
Well, this is like awesome, it's like a very, very vague and then very big area. But as a layman, it's a kind of agreement between the employer and then federal government, or maybe the Department of Home Affairs. Particularly, it's a kind of agreement where you could negotiate for many, many things. For instance, negotiation for the applicant age and then the salary, some requirement, experiences, and so on and so on.
Okay. Basically, when we have worked in the labor agreement, there is like industry specific labor agreement, then there is a DAMA itself where it goes with the state territory government and the federal government, right? So in terms of labor agreement, so far what sort of industry you have touched best?
Actually, Lilash, this is the area. So labor agreement, normally to understand the labor agreement, we need to understand the kind of labor agreement first, because every single labor agreements are different to each other, and they are very unique and specifically designed by the government. Let's begin with the type then. The most popular one is maybe industrial labor agreement. Under the industrial labor agreement, we have various industry. I don't remember how many now, but maybe 13, 14. And then the most popular is the aged care.
Aged care.
So where you could actually apply as an employer to the Fed government to negotiate the thing. However, under this specific labor agreement, as an industrial labor agreement, you don't have a room to negotiate much, because it's a standard template already been set by the union and Fed gov, and you pretty much stick with that kind of conditions and things. So it is a kind of preset, but easy to get. Time-wise, not so long, in terms of processing, and it's pretty straightforward. And I've been exposed in this area quite a while, and then I'm kind of okay with myself dealing with this area.
Apart from this standard labor agreement, which are around 11 of them, can other companies go for the labor agreement?
Absolutely, Lilash. That's a very good question. So, for instance, they call company-specific labor agreement, which is a very, very big and then very, very massive area to address. So, this is the area you can negotiate as much as you like. So, for instance, you could negotiate for the age and skill assessment, other requirement, English, salary, you name it. And the age is the main one. Normally the other 482 visa, the standard 482 visa, does not cover many occupations, and there is age restriction when you apply for permanent residency down the track. But this specially labor agreement will have that freedom. You could apply residency as old as maybe 55, 60 years old.
In the labor agreement, which sort of visa that we can apply? So basically for the labor agreement we can apply 482 and 186, right?
That is correct, actually. So under the 482, under the labor agreement, you're not seeking for any other miracle visa subclass. Still, you will be sticking with 482, and still you're sticking with the 494 regional visa, and as well as ENS 186, which is a permanent residency. So you're not going to go get the other subclass anyway. So its agreement itself is a pathway, and then you still go back to the normal procedure where you apply nomination and the visa and move on.
So in the process, like when we lost the labor agreement, first process is to get the endorsement from the either union or from the state territory government, right? Just what are the criteria that a company must fulfill before going for the labor agreement?
Okay, that's another very good question, and it's a very, very big area. It's a vague area, but as a layman, what you need to understand is basically it depends on the type of labor agreement you're applying for. Normally, as an employer, you should be kind of established employer. I mean to say, maybe you're operating for last 1 year or so.
At least a year.
Yes, a year, and then financially very, very good enough to hire people from overseas. Another adverse information about your company, so that kind of thing. And basically, the most important part here is you need to provide enough information mentioning you try to find that kind of occupation, that kind of labor within the Australia. I mean within the territory or the area where you're running, and then ultimately you couldn't find Australian people to work for yourself. That's why you're hiring from overseas. So which is very important.
So basically what you are trying to say here is, so for the labor agreement, the company must try to find the people onshore by advertising in the SEEK, Indeed, Workforce Australia, Edzunga, Career One, any of those sort of hiring platform. And how long that advertisement
normally there's a standard time, depends, but normally a month around
28 days.
But this is the one of the major key criteria to be provided to the government before you getting the agreement. And one more thing, there is always a myth and misconception about the labor agreement. So I would like to clarify to employer and then maybe potential employee. So labor agreement is not a process. It's not like a visa application. It's a kind of request made by employer to get into the contract. And after it approved, then you move on. So it is not an application. It is not a sort of like applying visa. So if you apply labor agreement, you're not going to get a bridging visa, So this should be very clearly be understood. Otherwise, there would be,
Talking about the next thing is, what are the challenges in the labor agreement?
Well, throughout my working history, I find the timeline because let's say your visa is expiring in next 6 months, and you come to employer, and the employer is ready to apply a labor agreement. Probably you're not going to make it. So time frame, the processing time is crazy lengthy, especially the company specific labor agreement. But the other labor agreements are pretty much around 6 months or something. And then the process we get involved in terms of preparation, the documentation, endorsement from the local authority, this process takes ages. So time frame is the key, and the cost itself, and then so many documentation itself is also one of the challenges. However, to apply a labor agreement itself costs nothing. So to be precise, you pay nothing to the government.
So basically you are trying to differentiate between the cost of, like for SBS we pay around $420, and for the labor agreement it's a different thing, right? But having said that, the professional fees for the labor agreement is much higher than the standard SBS, because in the standard SBS there might not be the
absolutely. Lilash, you being as a migration agent, you probably already been exposed to many employer, and you know how much you're charging, and I know how much I charge. Normally we don't want to disclose here, but comparatively we both are quite good in this area, and then we charge way less than the market rate, but you're gonna get a quality service for sure.
Is there any case example or success story that you have recently done?
Recently, last week, I got one labor agreement approval. This is the employer is based in the far Queensland somewhere. I can't remember the area, but it's a remote Queensland. And the it is a part of the industrial labor agreement. It's a part of the horticulture. And then the employer was running lots of horticulture business in a big farm in the area. They're doing so many stuff, and they absolutely in shortage of the nursery person. So we applied for the occupation, and then apparently we got approved last week. And then we are now in the process of moving forward to apply nomination and visa, and this is a big relief for an employer actually. No one was ready to work as a nursery person. No one wants to go far remote and then stay there and work as a labor intensive industry. So this is actually a big platform for employer to get the people from overseas.
Okay, so now you told us about the nursery person. What is the qualification requirement for the nursery person?
Here we come. So when we talk about labor agreement, now you focusing more about the industrial labor agreement. Every industry, I think 13, 14, whatever the industry is already approved by government. Every occupation and every requirement and the qualification are already preset. So it is already set there. So you have to follow the guideline. You cannot normally ask for exemption and cannot manipulate, company specific. So in that case, I think that's a sort 4.
Sort 3 in horticulture?
Yeah, correct. And or closely related.
Okay.
To be specific, you
and the work experience is at least 1 year.
It's still pretty much the same as a standard 482. Since I already mentioned there is a less room to play around. So pretty much that's the one. And it depends on, and again, if you're going for the 494 regional visa, maybe it's going to be 2 years. And if you're going for ENS, direct permanent residency, maybe more than that. And the other requirements may may need within the visa subclass, but standard is 1 year or 2 years.
Is skill assessment a requirement for ENS if you are going through a labor agreement?
It depends actually. Depends on the type of labor agreements. Generally, yes, but there is some cases you can't even move ahead without it.
What labor agreement stands is it's something like SBS, but not SBS. However, what you can negotiate over there, unless there is the standard format, you can negotiate about the skill assessment requirement, experience requirement, English, then their age requirement. That's the whole picture.
Actually, that's the whole picture. And to be very precise for employer and employee, what I would like to say is when you try to hire someone and you don't find the occupation on the standard CSOL list, which is a standard list for 482 visa and 186 visa, then the labor agreements comes in and you could actually benefit from it. So it depends on your industry types, depends on your location. You might be a part of the DAMA location because DAMA is also part of the labor agreement. There are actually 5 kinds of labor agreement. DAMA is one of the most popular, and depends on the size of your company, depends how long you're running the company. We could actually evaluate the kind of labor agreement fit for you, and based on that we apply and then we move on. But once agreement is approved, then the rest of the process are pretty similar like the other streams.
In my experience, normally when the candidate for the labor agreement or even SBS comes to us and asks, what is the actual, how much should the company earn to go for the SBS or even for the labor agreement? What is your take on this?
Oh, okay. So for the standard 482 visa through the SBS process, there is no legal requirement for that much revenue you require. However, in a pragmatic way, it has to be kind of able to show you going to pay your salary and then other expenses easily without having an extra burden. So this is the basic thing for SBS process through the SBS pathway. However, for labor agreement pathway, it depends on still the kind of labor agreement. For instance, if you're going through the global talent agreement through, and then if you newly start a business, you should have a certain revenue. For example, another good example, let's say if you're going through the industrial labor agreement, let's say the premium dining restaurant, right? So that premium dining restaurant can do the labor agreement easily. And particularly that employer has to have some criteria, certain criteria. For example, has to have some sort of fine dining menu, some sort of varieties of wine menus, and the staff's front staff, back staff. And the key area is the revenue, as you mentioned. You have to have probably 4 million plus. I can't remember, but if I'm not wrong, it could be 4 million plus, and then you could only apply for your labor agreement. So for instance, you are premium, you're doing everything, you are not franchisee, you have everything in your book, everything tick, 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 but at the end of the day, your revenue is 3 million, you're not eligible.
Another question is lots of time I have been asked from the employees themselves. Look, I have 2 million, 3 million turnover, but right now my company is in loss, right? But the wages and salary they are paying is like far more beyond the expectation. How should we say, or how should we tackle this?
Actually, Lilash, you raise a very nice area to be addressed. I get a lot of questions similar, the way you get it. Basically, even though you are in loss, you can still hire people, right? You can still expand. You can still recruit the skilled people. The tips here is make sure you tell immigration why you are in a loss. And other thing is make sure you ask your independent accountant to write a letter, saying maybe you invested heavily in other business, or maybe you had a COVID and the lockdown and you couldn't operate the business, or maybe you have a family issue and you shut down the business for 6 months, or maybe you were doing some renovation and there was absolutely no sales during that time. So that kind of factor to be considered. So as long as you have a justification why you are in a loss, and you have a independently written letter or some sort of proof by your accountant, then I don't see any problem. And I think you've been doing this kind of lodgement many, and that's what I've been doing, and we successfully obtaining the outcome we desire for.
Look, let's suppose there is a farm industry, right? Yes, they are going for millions of dollars of turnover year round. They might have bought a new tractors, new equipments, right? That also let you down with the profit, right? Profit doesn't mean that their company is sustainable or unsustainable, right? You need to look at the depreciation of their current assets, and where I can see the red flag is you have a high turnover, loss in the financial balance sheet. However, your wages is minimum. 90%. Most of the question those are asked was from these people who has the high turnover above 1 million. But when we go and see the wages and salary, it's around 80,000, 90,000 or 100,000. So it does not add up at all.
Exactly. So this is another very concerning area. For instance, if you are making 1 million revenue, how would you manage to get with the 85, 90,000 salary? Impossible. So the key thing is here, either you paying cash or you paying through the labor hire company, and you must be shown on your profit and loss as a contractor payment. And then maybe you are doing something which is not legitimate. So in this case, immigration definitely gonna go and ask why the payroll is so low despite having such a massive sales or massive revenue. So in this case, you need to be very careful.
Okay. Now one beautiful question over here. So let's suppose a person has a business, they are working in a partnership, but it's not an PTY LTD, right? As per the legislation and everything, they are eligible to apply for the sponsorship, right? However, they may not have paid the employee or contractor in the TFN or ABN. Can they still go for the SBS or labor agreement?
And then they can, but they need to have a justification why there is no payment. So as long as you have a good justification, no problem. I recently had an employer, and this is like a cleaning industry. And most of their payment is going through the subcontractor and other contractors.
So it must be mentioned in the balance sheet.
But in the expenses section, if you see, there is a massive amount of money paid to third party as a contractor. I know it's not wages, it's not salary, it's not superannuation, but it's still it's expenses. It's gone for somebody else as a part of the wages, right? So based on that, you probably provide a good submission, or maybe write down something to justify the department, because end of the day, if you have a good reason, good logic behind it, then department is also human, they'll understand the logic behind it, and then they do the outcome.
At least you need to have fair enough justification to provide to the department, and then
so here our role comes in as a migration agent, right? So I know every kind, and people say data entry, but
it's not just not applying for or filling up the forms.
It's not that. We use our little bit brain we have. So in this case, we try to present the thing in a nice way, and then practical way, and where the immigration can understand and get the outcome you actually looking for.
Okay. Thank you, Chintan sir. We close on this note that
I think before we closing,
Yeah.
probably in the next episode we will cover up something, some other topic.
Yeah.
The way we did labor agreement today.
Yes.
And then we actually
maybe more specific to the labor agreement under
or
DAMA.
Maybe why not? Or
Yeah.
maybe other topic, and
Yeah.
then we try to give a generic advice to you as a employer or as an employee.
And
then-
this is not an immigration advice.
Wait, that is
Yeah,
the very main
this is
thing
not
we
an
do.
immigration advice.
Exactly.
If you want to have a in-person immigration advices, please contact us. You
See,
can either contact.
He's already thinking about business. He's a smart
You
fellow.
can either contact Mr. Chintan
no,
Dhungel,
contact him. He's better than me.
or you can contact us, or you can contact any migration agent in your local area who you are comfortable.
Actually, joke apart. So
Yeah.
since we've been practicing in this area for a while, and then we can't claim we are good, but you come and see our services, the way we deal,
Yes.
and then probably it will be proven by yourself, and then you move on.
Yeah.
So thank you
Let's
so
go
much
ahead.
for having me.
Thank you, sir.
And then we'll be meeting you soon.
We will see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye
Have a
for
good
now.
one.
Bye for
Bye.